Today we're going over the best system that I have found for running sound for weddings in particular. This includes the ceremony sound and cocktail hour, but also includes just running sound for events in general whenever there are speeches and or you need to play music at these events. This setup revolves around the EVERSE 12 by Electro Voice, and this is a really well-designed battery-powered speaker system. It has an option for a rain-resistant cover. It also has an optional tray that you can put on top of the speaker so you can strap a wireless receiver onto it. It can be controlled with an app, it has an option for Bluetooth, and it even has a really cool DC power out for powering the wireless that lives on top of the speaker. And this setup actually solves the #1 problem that I see when people are running sound for weddings and ceremonies, which I'm going to address in this video. I've been using this system for about the last month, and no question this is the best setup that I've found for running sound for weddings, and this is what I'm going to continue to use. Just a side note, if you are in a band and you do play weddings, you can get a little bit extra money by offering to do sound for the ceremony. You could say you can book the band for this much, and I can also run sound for the ceremony for this extra amount of money. This system also does work really well for DJs and for bands as well. The first way that I used this was actually as a trio, which I'm going to go over when I go over my experience with it. However, in this video specifically, I'm going to focus on ceremony and cocktail hour, and just overall just any sort of event that needs some sort of music in the background and or speeches. And also, I already did a review on the EVERSE 8 speaker system, which is the same exact system as this one, it's just that the 12 is a bigger system. In that video, I do a deep dive where I go over all the settings and the specs and the menus and all of that stuff. So if that's what you're interested in, check out that video. In this video, I'm specifically focusing on how I use this for weddings, ceremonies, cocktail hour, and events. I do want to say many thanks to Sweetwater for sending this over and for sponsoring the video. Just as always, all the opinions in this video are my own. In any video that I do, I always get final say in all the opinions that I have on these products, and this is the system that I'm using when I run sound for ceremonies and cocktail hour. And if you do decide that this is something that is right for you, there are purchase links to purchase from Sweetwater down below in the description. That's enough of the intro. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and let's go ahead and get started. So here's the overview and the setup of what I'm going to go over with this video. So here's the EVERSE 12. I have it just sitting on top of a speaker pole, and you can see that the wireless is sitting here on top of the speaker. So there's a tray that connects to the top with just a few screws. It's really easy to put together. This shot I shot on my EVERSE 8 because the 12 is so tall I couldn't get the right angle with my camera, but the idea is the same. And now you have a spot to strap a wireless receiver to the top. And this is very important, and I'll go over why in a little bit. So you can see on the back you get 2 combo inputs for XLR or 1/4 inch inputs, and then you get a third one that has either 3.5mm or Bluetooth. And you can see that it's completely battery powered. I don't need any power to run any of this stuff. And you can see that there is the DC output that is providing power to the wireless receiver. So I don't need power for the speaker or for the wireless. And also, they do also include a USB-C output if you need to charge your phone or tablet or anything like that, which is also very nice. So for the wireless microphone system, I'm using the Electro Voice RE3 system, which pairs perfectly with this. And is a really good system as well. So the output is only 12 volts. So make sure if you are going to use a different wireless system, make sure that it needs 12 volts. Some of them need 15 volts, so it won't work with this. But this Electro Voice wireless mic system is awesome, and I am going to go over that later as well. For the second wireless, I've also personally been using the Shure SLX-D portable system because it has its own built-in battery for the receiver. So one mic goes into input 1, and the receiver is already battery powered, and then the EV wireless mic gets power from the speaker, and that goes into input 2. So I don't need any power for this to work, which is awesome. Now, there's also this rain-resistant cover, and this is really well designed because the cover will protect the entire speaker from rain, which is great because no matter what the radar says, no one actually believes it's going to rain on their wedding day. And this is a way to protect your speaker when it eventually does. So you have a front cover that protects it, and when you want to play music or speeches or whatever, it comes off very easily off the front right here, and it just Velcros to the back like this. And now you have this nice mesh in the front that doesn't block the sound at all and still offers some protection. If it does start to rain, all you have to do is just put the Velcro back over the front. Really clever. Now you have a zipper here in the back, which you can either close or you can open to get access to the electronics and the inputs and stuff like that. Also very clever design. If you do plan to use this just with Bluetooth and you just want to protect the inputs and stuff like that, you also have this cover that you can put over it to protect some of the most important parts to protect on the speaker. Again, just really well designed. One thing to keep in mind, you cannot put the tray and the rain resistant cover on at the same time, which makes sense. But just know if you use the tray, just have a tarp or a trash bag handy in case it does start to rain. And then last but not least, you do have an app that connects to the speakers for controlling them. You can change the EQ, you can change the compression, you have presets, you have effects built into the speaker. It also has an anti-feedback setting as well. Remember, I did a full rundown of all the settings in the speaker in the EVERSE 8 video. So if you want to find out more about the app and how much control you have in all the different settings, be sure to watch that video. But yeah, it's just really, really well designed. As far as the specs, I'll link to this article down below, but the most important thing to know is that battery life at moderate output is 12 hours, and then at full output is 6 hours. I did leave this on overnight accidentally, and the battery life was still great. I left this on all night, so it's been on for probably 12 hours, and it's still right there. That's pretty impressive. But if you want to find out more specs, I will link to that down below. So when I run sound for a ceremony, the way that I like to do it is I like to have a lapel or a headset mic for the officiant, and then I usually have a handheld for any sort of speeches or readings or vows or anything like that. I usually try to discourage the bride or the groom from wearing a lapel mic. No one likes to have a mic on them with a cable dangling down. So headset mic for the officiant, handheld for everything else, and then Bluetooth for playing songs while people are sitting and the songs as they're walking down the aisle and stuff like that. So those are my 3 inputs, and that's exactly what the speaker offers. Now, sometimes I do have to run sound and there's like violin or piano or guitar and something like that. And yes, in that case, I'm going to have to get a little battery powered mixer. But for the most part, those 3 inputs is mostly what I need, and it works out great almost all the time. So why is this so exciting? I mean, there's multiple battery powered speakers out there, right? This isn't a new concept by any means. What makes this one so special? So the tray on the top with the wireless on the top solves the #1 problem that I see happening when people use wireless for events like this. And I do see this often with reviews of wireless products as well on websites. They'll say, it worked great during sound check, and then a bunch of people showed up and it didn't work. What's the point of this wireless system? 1 star, and they get all upset about it. The reason why is because you need to have line of sight from the transmitter to the receiver, or at least have the best line of sight possible from the transmitter to the receiver for the wireless to work. When you have your wireless receiver sitting at a table down low, and you do sound check when no one is there, of course it's going to work because you have a direct line of sight from the transmitter to the receiver. However, as soon as all the bodies fill in and they fill up those chairs, and now they are blocking the signal to go from the transmitter to the receiver. That is why your wireless is cutting out. It's working well at sound check, bodies show up, and now it's not working. That is why. The wireless receiver on top of the speaker basically solves this problem because you almost always have direct line of sight, or even if it's not perfect line of sight, it's much better than having to go through all of the bodies sitting in those chairs. Both of the wireless that I use are on top of the speaker with direct line of sight. That's very important to understand about wireless, especially when you're doing something like running sound for wedding ceremonies and stuff like that. So this brings me to a really good point. Do not cheap out on wireless for your ceremonies. Budget wireless is great for certain situations, but when you're doing something that's a little bit more mission critical, like running sound for the ceremony, it's way different if that microphone cuts out versus if your microphone or your guitar wireless cuts out at a bar gig. You can't explain to the bride and groom afterwards that the videographer was not able to capture good audio because of the fact that your wireless cut out. Do not cheap out on the wireless when you're running sound for ceremony. So the Electro Voice RE3 is a fantastic system. I did a separate video on it if you want to check out more details about it. It really is great. And the first show that I did with that system, I brought it to a show that I did with my band, and they said they needed a speech mic just to make a few speeches and stuff like that. So I set it up just kind of at the front of the stage. I thought they were going to come up to the front of the stage, say, thank you everyone for coming. Here's the band, blah, 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 and give me the microphone back. But no, they needed it for a very large part of the event, and they took it all over the place. We were in a massive tent, and they took it outside of the tent and walked all the way around, going through so many different bodies. And I was like, well, this thing isn't going to make it, and they're going to ask me why the mic is cutting out. It never cut out once. And that was what blew me away on that thing. The range that this microphone has and how many bodies it had to go through in order for that wireless to still get signal. Still want line of sight whenever you can. That's definitely very important. But this one was blocked by so many bodies and it never cut out once. So this is one that I do recommend because it pairs so well with that DC output. So I definitely like this one. And it is one that I recommend with this. They do have it with a handheld and they do also have it with a body pack. So if you did want to use it with like a lav mic or something like that, I personally haven't used that one, but if it works as well as the handheld one, then I'm completely sold on it. And the other one that I recommend that I have been using is the Shure SLXD portable system. And I have a review on that one. And again, that one has a completely battery powered receiver. So those are the 2 wireless systems that I do recommend for using for this at a ceremony. And I'll have links down below where you can purchase them from Sweetwater so you can add this to your list as well. Now, I know this is starting to turn into an investment and it's starting to go up a little bit higher, but you really don't want to cheap out on your wireless gear. If you do cheap out on your wireless gear, it likely will work for quite a few shows. And you're going to say that long-haired guy on YouTube doesn't know what he's talking about. But then when you get to that show where your wireless just is not working no matter what you do, every channel that you change it to is not working, you try moving it closer, it just doesn't work. I want you to remember this moment. And that actually happened recently with a friend of mine. I was explaining to him, I was like, you really want to upgrade your wireless gear. And he wasn't rude about it, but he was just kind of like, no, I think I'm fine. And I just got a text from him about a week ago saying, hey, I really need to upgrade. So don't cheap out on your wireless gear. It is important for stuff like this. So that's great for the ceremony. And now the rain resistant cover I specifically use for cocktail hour. And this solves the issue of the fact that nobody ever believes that it's going to rain on their special day, ever. This is true for corporate events or birthday parties, or especially for weddings. The number of times that I've had to show a planner the radar to say, hey, doesn't look good. And they go, well, it's only an 85% chance of a monsoon. We're just going to hope for the best. The number of times that I've heard, we're just going to hope for the best, I couldn't even count. Hoping for the best does not protect your gear when it eventually does rain. People do not believe that it is going to rain until the moment it starts raining. Once it starts raining, then they accept that it is going to rain. And it used to actually stress me out a lot. It really did. I actually made a video going over some of the rainstorms that I got caught in last year. Some of them were absolutely brutal. But now with these rain resistant covers, I honestly don't even stress about it. And that's what's been really nice about this last month is I just set up the speaker, put up the rain resistant cover. 3 of these shows that I brought it to, it started to rain, and I felt zero stress with it. So it's just really just a well-designed system with that rain-resistant cover as well as that tray for ceremony and for cocktail hour. On top of it, of course, being battery-powered, because a lot of times the ceremony takes place in a place that doesn't have access to power. I live in Colorado. Everyone wants to get married in the mountains. There's a lot of gorgeous spots up here. Totally understand it. But there's a lot of spots that there's no access to power, so it's definitely very important that I find battery-powered gear. And on top of all of that, of course, the speaker sounds fantastic. I'm a big fan of Electro Voice speakers anyways. I would go out of my way to say they are my favorite sounding speakers. My main speakers that I use with my band is the EV50s. So no surprise, these also sound fantastic. And also, this system gets loud. It gets very loud. So I'm going to go over my experience here in a minute. But at the first show, I had to do like a little acoustic trio. And I did a volume test at that show, and I filmed it just on my phone. I'm giving headphone users a warning here really quick because it does get quite loud when I'm testing this out. So you've been warned. And then I backed away a little bit and still tried it to see how loud it would get. Quite impressive. And you can also see me pissing off my bandmates doing checks for my YouTube videos. Sorry, guys. But yeah, this thing gets really loud, especially for a battery-powered speaker. So that brings me to my experience with using these. So the first show that I did was in Wyoming. This was the one where I had to set it up for like a little trio set that we did. So we had to perform as a band at one location. I had my EV50s there. And then we were about a half a mile away where we had to perform just a little acoustic set. And this battery-powered setup worked really well. So I'm in Colorado. This event was in Wyoming. If you think Colorado has wild weather, which it does, go to Wyoming. As we started setting up, sure enough, a bunch of black clouds were starting to come in, and I got set up there, and then I had to go get set up for the main event. It was so nice just to put that rain-resistant cover on there and just go, I'm not worried about it. If it rains, it rains. I'm not worried about it. The second show that I used this at was for a wedding for some really good friends of mine. For this one, my band played as well as I needed to run sound for the ceremony. This is what I used. It worked perfectly well. I had no problems with it. My band was there and they came up to me afterwards. They said, wow, the sound was really great on this system. It worked really well. Didn't have to look for power. So easy to set up. Controlled it with the app. It just went so smooth. There was just nothing wrong with it. For the third show, I needed to run sound for ceremony as well as for cocktail hour. There was no power around, which was absolutely no problem for this setup. However, for this one, I did need to have violin and guitar for the ceremony. So in that case, I did have to bring a little battery powered mixer. I am in the process of reviewing a couple of them. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see a video on those when those come out. And also, just FYI, if you are finding this video helpful, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. It truly does help support the channel and feed the YouTube algorithm gods. And consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this in the future. But it was also really nice. So on this one, I brought the 12 for the ceremony and the 8 for the cocktail hour. The speakers sound so good too. I got a tiny bit of footage of just like sound checking for violin and guitar. I should have gotten more. I don't know why I didn't, but yeah, these speakers sound so good. Ceremony went really smooth. Sure enough, as it was about to start, it started to rain, so I just put a tarp over the top, and it's very nice that everything's all just kind of in one. I just put a tarp over the top, and that was it. Again, cocktail hour had that rain-resistant cover, just zero stress. I just set it up, and I didn't even think about it. I'm not doing
anything. I'm gonna kick my feet up.
For the cocktail hour, I just had a phone playing the playlist that they wanted, put the playlist on shuffle, put it in that little zipper pocket, closed the zipper, and that was cocktail hour. It was just so easy. It's just such a well-designed system that just makes your life so easy, and that's what I love about this. So for the fourth wedding, my band also played that one. There was a cocktail hour on a roof, and then I had to run sound for the ceremony as well, using my standard setup. For this one, I used both of the 12s, but when I got there for that one, it looked like it was possibly going to rain. This was one of the few nights that it didn't, but I just set up the one for cocktail hour up on the top, had that rain-resistant cover on, and didn't stress about it the rest of the night. And it worked fantastic. The ceremony went super smooth, and as you can see from this one, it was really important that I was up high with the wireless and then went over all of the bodies that were sitting there. And then for the fifth and final wedding, and well, not final wedding because I'm going to keep, this is the system that I'm going to use when I do weddings from now on, just the final wedding for the video that I'm doing the review on. So for this one, we needed a guitar, keys, and vocals for the ceremony part. So I had a little battery powered mixer for this one, but what I did this time is I still put the two wireless up on top, and I just had an XLR cable that was long enough to run into this little battery powered mixer. So I still had control over it while the wireless were still on top of the speaker. And that way I still had the direct line of sight of the most important stuff. And then all the musicians were here under a tent. It worked flawlessly. I really had no problems with it. It's such a well-designed system. And they really thought of a lot of things with this system. Even with that rain-resistant cover, I was kind of like, how do you carry this? But they even have like zippers on the side and on the top that allow you to grip the speaker while it's in this rain-resistant cover. Just little things like that. They've really just thought it through. They also have bags and duffel bags for carrying them. I bought 2 of them actually with my own money just because I love the system. I'm going to continue to use it. And I'll have links to that down below as well. So the only 2 cons that I found with this, one is a pretty upsetting one, is the Bluetooth. If you need to update the firmware, at least when I tried to use it, it didn't let me use the app with the speaker until I updated the firmware on the speaker. I don't know if it's every firmware update that is going to happen, so when you first get it, make sure that you update the firmware and connect to it with the app right away. It was pretty frustrating to get to my first show with it and not be able to use it because I have to update the firmware. And it says that it could take up to an hour to update. So I just had to control it manually. That is nice that you can still control it manually on the speaker itself, but it is annoying that you have to update the firmware in order to use the app. And also the DC power cables that come with it to power, you know, the wireless receiver on the top. I've had 2 of those be pretty bad. I don't know if it's just I got 2 bad ones or whatever. The other ones work great. But if you get a bad one, if it's like not powering up, just throw it away. That's what I did at one of my shows. I actually got 5 of them just so I had a backup. You might want to consider looking into the MyVolts Step Up, which I did a review on, which is a way to power 9, 12, and 15 volt gear with USB-C. Really cool system. Might be worth having those on hand. As far as do you need the 12 or the 8, the EVERSE 12 or the 8, it really just depends. Do you want more portability or do you want more power and more low end? Obviously, the 12 is going to have more power and more low end because it's a bigger speaker. So it's up to you to make that decision. I personally think that 8 is great for cocktail hour and then 12 is great for ceremonies, just in case if I needed to get it a little bit louder. It's really up to you to decide which one you need more. Don't be the guy who's trying to do sound for a 1,000-person event and asking why your 8-inch battery powered speaker isn't enough power. Get the right speaker for the job. As far as the pricing for all of these, the EVERSE 12 is currently listed at $9.99 as of time of shooting. As for the accessories, the rain-resistant cover is about $100. The tray is about $100, currently on sale for $90. And then if you want the duffel to carry it around in, it's about $130. If you are interested in the 8, I still think the 8 is very usable. You can save a little bit of money. The 8 is currently listed at about $750. The tray or the rain-resistant cover are listed at $70. And it also has a padded bag for carrying it around for about $100. So you can check out all of those using the links in the description. And I also have the QR codes on the screen so you can get the system that is right for you. So it's really up to you between the 8 and the 12. If you want more portability, go with the 8. If you want more power and more low end, go with the 12. Either way, whichever one you decide, there will be links to purchase from Sweetwater down below in the description. And again, many thanks to Sweetwater for sending this gear over for me to check out. I love this. I'm going to continue to use it. This works great for everything that I need. And hopefully you found the video helpful. If you did find the video helpful, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button to feed the YouTube algorithm gods. If you want more details on how this speaker works, be sure to watch my video on the EVERSE 8. In that video, I'm going to do a deep dive into the menu and settings and how to control it and all of that stuff. And also be sure to check out my review on that Electro Voice RE3 wireless microphone. It is really a great microphone. It pairs great with this setup. You can check out both of those videos by clicking the links on your screen now. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have other cool gear that you're using for your ceremonies and stuff like that, please leave them as a comment down below. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.